a child of the border who became the bloodthirsty boss of the Gulf Cartel. Jorge Eduardo Costilla Sánchez controlled tons of cocaine, defied the United States, and set Mexico's northeast on fire before ending up behind bars. How did a kid from Matamoros become one of the most wanted drug lords on the planet? Facing it, on the other side of the border, Brownsville, Texas, spreads out its electric lights. Between the two, an invisible line, drawn by men, which the night crosses effortlessly. The wind from the Gulf of Mexico moves up the river, filling the air with the smell of salt, dust, diesel. In these flat streets, lined with low houses and sagging wires, the heat sticks to the asphalt. The pickup trucks roll by slowly. Eyes look away. Since the 1980s, Matamoros has no longer been just a border town. It is becoming a gateway. Behind the plastered facades, under the pale blue neon of gas stations, in the warehouses with sheet metal roofs, the invisible corridors of forbidden commerce open up. The cocaine comes from the south, sliding along sun-scorched roads, reaching the border like a white river. Marijuana follows, in tight bales, hidden in trucks, buses, family cars. American reports, Mexican files, documents bearing the stern seals of joined judiciaries spell it out in black and white. Matamoros is a key turning in the lock of the United States. The Gulf Cartel is born in the shadow of border posts. It extends its fingers over Matamoros, over Reynosa, over the roads that lead to Brownsville, McAllen, Laredo. DEA agents, American prosecutors, Mexican investigators record the same names, the same cities, the same dates. A structure takes shape, hierarchical, precise, capable of moving tons of drugs across a line that is guarded, watched, proclaimed inviolable. In Matamoros, this cartel becomes a silent law. On August 1, 1971, in Matamoros, Tamaulipas, a boy comes into the world. The cold records of the United States will later note him. Jorge Eduardo Costilla Sánchez, Mexican. Born on this land where rows of pickup trucks are symbols of power, where the border is not a barrier, but a promise. His face, his home, his early years disappear into silence. No archive tells of his childhood. No document describes his games, his schools, the voices that raised him. He grows up in a gray zone between rumor and oblivion. Later, newspapers, indictments, security reports will offer him only another name, short and sharp as a small blade. El Coss. Sometimes El Coss. An alias, an echo, a war identity. In the 1980s, a man leads him with a firm, cold hand. Juan Garcia Abrego. Under his reign, the routes multiply. The shipments grow heavier, the flows more regular. Convoys cross the border night like processions of secrets. The cartel weaves its deals, bribes, threatens, buys stares, rents silences. Then, in January 1996, time catches up with him. The Mexican authorities capture him. The United States demands him. He crosses the border no longer as master of the crossing, but as a prisoner. Extradited, tried, locked away. The void does not last long in these lands. At the end of the 1990s, another name rises: Osiel Cárdenas Guillén. Osiel steps forward without a mask. He knows that power is displayed as much as it hides. Under his leadership, the Gulf Cartel sheds its skin. The logic of simple trafficking mutates into a war machine. At the turn of the 1990s, 2000s, a new force emerges from the darkness of the barracks. Men leave the Mexican army, desert the ranks of the special forces, the GAFE. They take with them discipline, techniques, the knowledge of war. They are called Los Zetas. In the service of the Gulf Cartel, they become the metallic teeth of the beast. They protect convoys, kidnap, extort, strike without flinching. Official reports record these deserters turned mercenaries, this fusion between crime and the military arts. The Tamaulipas, Texas routes blaze with clandestine crossings. Cocaine, marijuana, other powders still. Each ton that crosses the border is a challenge. Threat assessments, classified documents, the patient studies of American agencies note the growing intensity. The Gulf Corridor becomes a poisoned river, feeding an insatiable demand to the north. At the beginning of the 2000s, American investigators keep running into him in intercepted conversations, testimonies, the structures brought to light. His alias surfaces, El Coss. He is no longer a mere cog. Indictments will later state that he is a high-ranking member, close to the inner core. He is placed next to Osiel, not in the dark alleys of the base, but near the top of the pyramid. Lieutenant, key operator, commander without a uniform. The heat falls on the city like a lid. The streets are narrow, the walls cracked. On one of these arteries, two men move forward. They are neither tourists nor simple passers-by. They are agents, come from the other side. One from the DEA, the other from the FBI. With them, an American informant, a fragile bridge between two worlds. The pickups line up like beasts that encircle. Men get out, heavy weapons in hand. The rifles shine in the harsh light. The American agents suddenly find themselves surrounded, like hunters turned prey. In front of them, Osiel. He is not alone. At his side, armed men, loyal, ready to shoot. Among them, the files will state, stands Jorge Eduardo Costilla Sánchez. On this sidewalk in Matamoros, the Gulf Cartel looks the United States straight in the eye. Osiel demands, shouts, threatens death. The agents feel the weight of the end pressing on their necks. One wrong breath, one too abrupt move, and the street becomes a charnel house. The seconds stretch out like years. The cartel's men grip their stocks tighter. Dust dances around the boots. Official statements fall like verdicts. The United States indicts Osiel Cárdenas Guillén for threats and violence against their agents. They do not forget his men. Among the lieutenants targeted, the indictments cite Jorge Eduardo Costilla Sánchez. His name enters the federal archives, engraved in the cold metal of judicial files. From that point on, he is no longer just a man from northeastern Mexico. He becomes a priority target. The 2000s open in the roar of pickups on dusty roads. Under Osiel, the machine keeps turning. But inside, the balance shifts. Costilla Sánchez advances, step by step, in this hierarchy where mistakes are paid for in blood. He is no longer on the margins. He consolidates himself as right-hand man, as operational co-leader. DEA reports will describe him this way, later, when the time of telling has replaced the time of action. Under the direction of Osiel and his lieutenants, a system of corruption slowly spreads like an oil stain. Mexican uniforms, sometimes, bend. Some sell out, others close their eyes. The investigation reports will speak of it later, without always naming those who fall into this web. The cartel buys silences, rents complicities, penetrates the very structures that should bring it down. The operation is swift, sharp. Government vehicles encircle, tension rises, the crackle of radios tears the air. By the end of that day, Osiel Cárdenas Guillén falls into the hands of the state. He is arrested, taken away. In an instant, the man who made the border tremble finds himself behind walls, watched, counted, isolated. From his prison, at first, he tries to keep his grip. He sends orders, maintains ties, imposes his signature from a distance. The authorities note that he continues to exert influence. But this influence slowly frays. As the years pass, the bars tighten around his will. Jorge Eduardo Costilla Sánchez is one of them. Specialized reports, security analyses show him emerging among the main contenders. Around him, other names line up. Other bloodlines claim the inheritance. Osiel Cárdenas Guillén, known as Tony Tormenta, a relative of Osiel, and the leaders of Los Zetas, that shadow army now swollen with its own power. In the back streets of Matamoros, the people do not see the secret meetings. They do not read the indictments. But they feel the tension in the air, in the number of armed pickups, in the frequency of distant gunfire. The Gulf is no longer just the sea that roars offshore. It is the name of a power looking for a new face.